Hey, welcome back to All Things Baseball Podcast. This is episode 14, Road to the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. This is the major leagues,
Yeah.
the best baseball in the world.
4 teams.
4 teams left. You've got the amazing Mets. Nobody expected this. 89 wins during the season up against the powerful Dodgers, 98.
They came out of the wild card, right?
Yeah, they came through the
Yeah.
wild card. They beat the Phillies, who I had predicted would be in the World Series.
I had them too, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then you got the Yankees, our team. They look real good.
Yeah.
They're playing right now.
Right
They're
now,
up. And then the Guardians. Guardians had a great season. They were first in their division. So you've got the best 4 teams in baseball right now vying for, to get to the World Series.
Should be pretty exciting. So with that, let's get into it. Road to the World Series.
Okay, we're back. So get right into it. Who's built for the World Series? When I think of, the failed Yankees of the past, they weren't built for the World Series. They just maybe lacked a starter or just a couple more, hitters, and so when I think of who's built for the World Series, obviously the Dodgers jump out.
Yeah.
I mean, look at their stars.
Yeah. I mean, just a star-studded lineup. Like they, top to bottom, I mean, you could name 3 MVPs out of their lineup.
Freddie, Mookie, Ohtani.
Ohtani, yeah.
Right? Teoscar's having a great season.
He was in the home run derby too, and
Right.
in the All-Star game, I think. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't.
Right. They picked up Flaherty. Yamamoto's been so
He
far.
was injured, yeah. I think him coming back, I think he pitched well the other night. He'll be a viable key for them.
But so they're built.
Yeah.
Mets, where did they come from? You're talking about the amazing Mets. They have Lindor, they have Alonso. They certainly have a couple of good. Quintana's been pitching really well. Severino's been doing pretty well. So they've certainly have some players.
Yeah,
but I didn't see this.
Well, yeah, early on, I think what we had all seen, it was just going to be another year for the Mets where it's they finish at like 70, 80 wins.
Right. That's where they were headed.
Yeah, come last and then at least. But this year, I joke about the Grimace thing, if you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
The Grimace thing. They were beating us in like a series when we played them in the Subway Series. I think it was the first go around.
Right.
They looked so much stronger. They were firing on all cylinders. They have Bader. They got Severino, like you said. Lindor, who's been playing lights out this year.
And you know who's been carrying them this postseason is Alonso and Lindor have had like major hits.
Yes.
But Vientos.
Mark Vientos, their third baseman,
He's hitting like 385.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 11 RBI, So, okay, so are they built though? I mean, they don't really have a bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried about their starting pitching against the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Let's go to AL real quick. We're doing the high level here.
Yeah.
The Yankees, this is the really first year in a long time that I feel like they're built for October because they've got Judge.
Yeah.
Now they have Soto. Okay. And then you look at the rest of the lineup and you say, Stanton's hot.
Yeah.
He's a postseason guy. He has stats in the postseason.
Gleyber's come around.
Gleyber's come around. Now, here's the way I look at it. If you got 3 guys, studs, in your lineup, and then the other guys kind of contribute some hits, some walks. They don't have to be – just keep the lineup moving along to get back to the guys who are driving in the runs.
Yeah.
If you've got the starting pitching and you've got pretty good defense and you've got a bullpen, which the Yankees have now, they have a bullpen of, Conley, and they have Holmes coming in as more of a hold guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've got Tyler Weaver, who's maybe the best –
Luke Weaver.
Yeah, his brother Tyler is not playing right now. Lucas is there.
Yeah, I mean, it's been awesome to see where he's come from. Like,
right.
Out of I think he was a middle late relief guy for us.
Right.
For a while.
Yeah, his story we'll get to in a minute, but
the transition has just been seamless, though.
Yeah, he's a bulldog. So they look like they're built for October, and then you got the Guardians. The Guardians have the best bullpen in baseball.
Yeah,
and they have kind of to what we've been saying. They've got Ramirez and Kwan, but do they have like a third stud?
I guess you could argue maybe Josh Naylor. I don't think he fared up well towards the end of the season, but He had over 30 home runs. David Fry, their catcher.
Fry's had some big hits
Yeah.
in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
So they're the ones, obviously, if the Yankees get by, they go to the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
But so let's now that we went over the high level for all 4 teams, let's dig into the AL Championship Series. So AL Championship Series, the Yankees won the first game.
Yep.
Okay. And Rodon, second game. And Rodon, right? They're playing the second game now, and Rodon dominated.
Looked great.
9 strikeouts, 6 innings. The bullpen was great.
Yeah.
Luke Weaver.
Yeah, he's just been lights out.
Right.
Getting flashes of Mo out there, which is pretty nice. You don't have to worry as much. With Clay, it did feel like when Clay goes out there, it's like, what are we going to see tonight? Like, is this going to be like a blown save?
He came in tonight. Cole's pitching tonight, pitched very well, but left with the bases loaded.
Yeah. Like a long relief.
He came in at a key moment with bases loaded. He gave up he gave up a ground ground ball to second, and the guy scored with base loaded. So, but the following inning, Chisholm.
I'm gonna start calling him Chasm.
Chasm, yeah.
That's his nickname.
I think he got a home run, and so But Cole's pitched really well. Yeah. Rodon's pitched well. It's a tough lineup. They the Indians, they do have their
Guardians.
The Guardians have
2 for 2.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going for strike 2.
I'm counting them up.
So the Guardians have Ramirez. He hasn't done much.
Yeah.
If you
notice, a lot of superstars haven't done a lot this postseason so far.
Right.
Look at a lot of the average.
Ohtani's been a little bit lower.
OPS. Bobby Witt, before we knocked him out of the division series, he didn't actually perform that well. Being MVP, like a big time candidate, he really didn't play that well, I thought.
You're right. And this is what I mean about being built for October, battle tested. Some of the young guys like Bobby Witt, he'll learn from this and he'll be battle tested next time. He's never been to the playoffs, and he's 23 or 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see that. I think you can see where the experience comes in, because you look at the Mets, like average age, the Dodgers average age, they're approaching 30 or already in their 30s.
Right.
Teams like the Orioles are very young.
Yeah.
Holiday.
And you could tell that they weren't battle tested, because they were just as good as the Yankees during the year.
And they are. And they definitely had our number,
until the end when they
I think if they had gotten in instead of the Royals, we were in trouble, like we talked about.
We had trouble with the Orioles.
We did,
sure.
yeah.
But also hungry. So if you're experienced, battle tested, hungry. The Yankees are definitely hungry. They know they've underperformed for the last few years, and they've got they've got a better catcher than previous years. Rizzo, I worry about. He's good defensively. I think he got a hit tonight, but I worry about him a little bit. But like I said, if you've got the top 3 or 4 guys, and then Stanton is hitting, you're in good shape.
Him and DJ, they were worrying me for a while. But I think when you look on the other side of it, like Alonso, if you take out his power numbers, you look at a pretty subpar average. But I would like to think that, a lot of their pieces are going to come into play, because I personally, I know we're jumping ahead, but I'd love to see a Subway Series, World Series.
you already want to talk about that. That's how we're going to finish up. But I know we've talked about that a lot. Like we're really excited about
love to see
a potential Subway Series. So can't wait to get to that. But getting back to the American League before we go more dig into the National League.
Yeah.
Who's got the better defense, the Guardians or the Yankees? What do you think? Now, you've got that new shortstop for the Guardians. His name is Riccio, Brian.
Brown Riccio?
Riccio, yeah. See, that's strike 3.
No.
But he's a Gold Glove candidate.
Foul ball.
Jose Ramirez, J-Ram, he's a Gold Glove candidate. Kwan is a Gold Glove candidate. They were 3rd in defensive runs saved in the major leagues with 89, which is just a stat that says that they're well above the average league in terms of their defense saving runs. So is that going to play a factor? I can tell you that tonight, Jazz Chisholm, very inexperienced at third, went over to cut a ball off that literally Volpe was waiting for. And it was a play that they didn't make. And I think it cost them a run. So my point is, things like that get blown up in the playoffs where it becomes a bigger issue. So I do worry about, as the Yankees have the dominant starting pitching, their bullpens are close, but the Guardians are better.
Yep.
And I think the star factor with the starters and the star factor with the Yankees with Soto and Judge and Stanton and then the other guys contributing pretty well. I think the Yankees will probably win this series in 5. They'll probably win.
Might lose one.
They're definitely going to lose. When they go back to the Indians, they're going to lose. Because remember,
Guardians strike 3.
Never going to get used to that. Sorry.
I'm gonna catch each one. I'm gonna mark.
I love the movie Major League where they. It's hard to say Guardians, but I'm sorry. If it's important, then I'll remember it. Anyway, so going back. So, what do the Guardians have? Like this guy Thomas was like their hero. Now is he back to zero? Like he hasn't done anything yet in this series.
No,
but he was huge.
Former Nationals guy, right?
Yeah,
Lane Thomas.
Yeah. He was huge for the Detroit series. He got the grand slam. I mean, where is he now? He hasn't done much.
Yeah, some of these dark horses, and I think we're bound to see a few more pop up. I think we're gonna see like somebody start to get more base knocks or driving more runs that you're like hasn't done anything all year.
Right.
I look at a guy like John Kenzie Noel for the Guardians. I think he only hit like maybe 220 or 230, maybe less. But he's had moments this season where, they're big shots or like put the Guardians ahead. He was a key factor, and he's still in the lineup. Like, if you look at his average, it doesn't really matter until you get into this time of year.
Definitely.
And I think he could be a dark horse. He's my dark horse for the Guardians. Yankees dark horse. I like to say Verdugo. We've watched him all year. Early on, he looked good. Second half,
I'm not a fan. Yeah. The way he hits, I don't. I mean, he's a tough kid, and he's a good left fielder. But I don't know. Maybe he will. I mean, I like his moxie, and I like him defensively, and he can run. Mm-hmm. But I just don't see him being like a big factor. Of course, we get on the next podcast, he probably wins the game winner. Let's switch over to the National League. Yeah. So let's talk about the Dodgers and the Mets. So, like we talked about in the high level when we introduced this episode, the amazing Mets, 89 wins. They've got Lindor, they got Alonso, they got Vientos.
You could argue a team that's not even really supposed to be here, because if you remember, getting into the wild card spot was like, if they didn't win at least one game, or if they had gotten swept by the Braves, they wouldn't be even in the wild card
Which
spot.
I meant to ask you, what do you think of this format that they did with the playoffs? The way they did it this year, and the 3, it's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you like it, or is it just too much? Is it just all for TV?
I think it is for fan engagement, and let us know, if you think it is more for the eyes to get on baseball, because
Yeah, I would be interested to know what our viewers think. Yeah, is this a good format? Back in the day, it was just the National League and the American League pennant. Yeah. You won it, and then they played in the World Series, and now you got to go through all these hoops. And a team like the Mets kind of like finds their way in there. Now it's exciting.
And now that they're in the thick of it, they're in it to win it for the pennant against the Dodgers, who are, like I said, have just top to bottom.
Freddie, Mookie, Ohtani, Teoscar. Will Smith is the best defensive the other guy in Philly is good too. Mm-hmm. You've got one of the best defensive catchers. You've got, all that pitching, Flaherty, Yamamoto, Buehler, Trinan, Kopech. I mean, these guys, they are built for the World Series, and they've won a World Series in the last few years. So they seem like the odds-on favorite, right?
They do, yeah. It is interesting to see them come at the beginning of the year with Mookie kind of moving to short. And you didn't really know, because he's a strong utility guy. He can play pretty much anywhere.
Right.
But moving him to short, he did look uncomfortable. Then he got injured, and then they kind of had to rotate a lot of guys, pick up Kike back from the...
He's a great utility guy. Sometimes those super utility guys just stand out because they do something that nobody else can.
Because I don't know if Muncy really could fill third. It was like a game of musical chairs for them in the infield. It felt like, right?
Right.
Like, you saw them kind of rotate, and then when Freddie would kind of go, he would DH. I think he can play third. I don't think he does, but like rotating a lot of those guys, Lux, Betts, and finding a sweet spot where they're at now is is like, all right, we're gonna see like the Dodgers kind of crumble under pressure when they need to make big plays in the infield.
Well, they were third in the league in defensive runs saved. So you're talking about again, they're up there, which surprised me.
But it's so
because
many.
Toronto's number one. I think then Cleveland and Dodgers are right in there. The Mets were 12th. The Yankees were farther down, but the Dodgers are pretty good defensively. They're not they're not as good as the top two, but they're pretty good defensively.
I mean, some key notable pickups. I mean, just looking at the list here, and then thinking about the season, Outman was touted as a really talented rookie last year, but they DFA'd him this year. Miguel Vargas, I think he was their second baseman for a while.
Right.
DFA'd him.
Right.
And of course, Jason Hayward, who was a daily player for them. They DFA'd him, so it was like
can't hit.
It was like there are three guys that were like staying in the lineup these past 2 years. I think they finally had to cut the cord and be like, "Hey, we've got other guys," and they picked up some fresh talent. Kike, he was a former Dodger, but I think he kind of just fills in the gap. He makes it fun for them.
He does. To me, they're
back in the lineup.
And you look at their lineup, and you look at like you said, Ohtani and Mookie, former both MVPs. Ohtani will win it this year in the National League. So they just seem, even though he hasn't hit, even though he hasn't done what he's capable of doing, there's still a lot of baseball left. So he's gonna come through. So it feels like when the Mets lost 9-0 in the first game, it felt like, oh boy, the Mets balloon is about to pop, right? Cinderella story, however you want to put it.
They came back with a fight.
Yeah, but they came back with a fight and they won the second game.
They did.
And their pitching, I'm surprised. Quintana, Minaya, Severino. Diaz is interesting because the batting average against him in the playoffs is like less than 200, but he's given up 6 walks in like 5 innings. You can't do that.
He lost a little bit this year.
He doesn't have the dominant stuff, but my problem with Diaz is he just doesn't locate. He's got still pretty good stuff, and he's got in 5-6 innings, he's got I don't know 8-9 strikeouts, so he certainly can do it.
Yeah,
and they're only hitting 183 off of him in the playoffs so far. But you can't walk 6 guys in 5 innings. You just can't.
Yeah.
So the Mets have some holes. Will the clock strike midnight on them against the Dodgers? It feels like that's where it's headed, unless Lindor and Alonso and Vientos can continue to just find these magical home runs. I mean, if you look at how they've won on huge hits. I mean, big swings to put them ahead or tie it up or whatever.
Lindor and Alvarez have stepped up.
Right.
Alvarez, I don't know if you've seen yesterday, but he threw out Ohtani. And it was the first time Ohtani had been thrown out since like July.
I did see that. Yeah. He's a good, and that's important. So stuff like that adds up. Defensively, the Mets aren't bad. Yeah. They're pretty good. The pitching, I just don't think they have enough pitching.
Maybe not enough depth. Yeah.
Can
the bats carry them far enough? They're
going to have to outslug the Dodgers, which is not an easy thing to do. No. It's certainly possible. Lindor was, as you said earlier, off camera. He's like an MVP candidate. I mean, not in the Ohtani year this year, but in any other year.
It's the same way for Judge. Like, if there wasn't Ohtani, then Lindor's got it. If there's no Judge, then Bobby Witt's got it.
And and then if there was no Bobby Witt, you'd have Soto.
Both shortstops.
Right.
And you could call them like snubs for the year, but they're not really snubs because Ohtani and Judge are just different levels of play.
They are different levels.
Yeah.
So I think, prediction-wise, I think the Dodgers will take over and win. I think the Yankees will beat the Guardians. Yeah. What do you think?
Yes.
It's 1-1 in the National League. Right now it's 1-0 for the Yankees, but they're winning unless something's changed.
It's a 5-game series?
It's a 7-game series.
7, okay. So it changes to 7.
Yeah.
I think the Dodgers, although I'd love the Mets to win in like 7, I would love nothing more. It's probably going to be Dodgers in like 5. And Yankees, I think they will beat the Guardians. I think that could go to a 7. You said 5. I think it could go the distance. I think it's going to be a little more dicey here coming up.
Right.
We should, I think, as of now, we're recording this on the 15th, dropping on the 16th. We're going to win tonight, hopefully. I think we're winning. Be 2-0. I think we might struggle. We'll have Schmidt, I think, going tomorrow, if I'm not wrong. Nestor's out, right?
Nestor's out. Yeah. It'll be Yeel. Schmidt, Yeel, and then I think they go back to, Rodon. So, yeah, I think the Yankees will do it. I think what you're looking at here in terms of the World Series, nothing against the Guardians. They're a wonderful team.
Yeah.
And the people of Cleveland definitely deserve a World Series winner. But, I mean, a Yankees-Dodgers World Series is classic because, in the 40s and 50s and 60s, you had some of and 80s, and 70s. You had some of the I skipped over that. You had some classic World Series between the Yankees and the Dodgers. I mean, Yankees fans, they despise, Red Sox, but a close second is the Dodgers, just because of that history of so many World Series against them. So that's going to be classic. And you've got two major cities. Middle America may not like it, but I think a lot of the coastal part of the country are going to love a Yankees-Dodgers World Series. But go ahead.
I was just gonna
say, I see you're ready to jump in.
Well, I'll give Ohtani a lot more credit. Not only for his MVP status of this year and how well he's done with breaking the record 50-50 and probably the greatest game of all time.
6 for 6, yeah.
That game, yeah. But coming from Anaheim, being there for 6 years, he started in 2018, and really never getting a fair shot at making the playoffs, at least.
Right.
With another all-timer who's, he's had a few bumps in the road these past few years for him, Mike Trout, on the Angels. But, I mean, that team, I don't want to say they're sorry, but, the Angels have just, I don't know where the pieces go wrong when you're developing a team. When you look at franchises like the Angels and the A's, both in college.
It's the power of three thing, where you got, three superstars. With the Angels, they had two.
Yeah.
And then they had a poor supporting cast.
Very much, yeah.
And pitching was horrible, and you have to have pitching. Think about your greatest team of all time, the 1970 Orioles that you love, that you picked as the greatest team in your previous podcast. And they had 4 20-game winners. Mm-hmm. And they had Frank Robinson, and they had Brooks Robinson, and they had Boog Powell. Yeah. So they had all these superstars and the best pitching supporting and the best defense.
Yeah. Oh, right.
So, when you're built for October, the Angels, they had Mike Trout, who was on the way down, and then you had Ohtani, but you didn't have anything else. So
Two.
So power three is the way I look at you got to have 3 superstars in today's game.
Yeah, you're seeing it, and you're seeing him now getting his fair shot with the Dodgers, and it is nice to see. I will say that, we can dog on the Dodgers.
I love watching the Dodgers.
It's very exciting.
They have Ohtani, and they have Mookie Betts. To me, he might be, one of the most well-rounded baseball players I've ever seen.
Plays a bunch of different sports too. You ever see those videos of him?
Yeah, he's a great bowler.
He can bowl. He can dunk. I think he's like 5'9".
Yeah.
Do you remember when we played at that field? We were
in Nashville. Yeah.
It was his home field. His high school field that he played at. In which part of Tennessee? But
so let's talk a little bit before we wrap it up about advanced analytics versus the gut feel. So this is the time of year where the analytics people just love to jump in there and talk about matchups, right? Yeah. They go deep dive into they call them micro analytics and individual matchups. I got to tell you, this is the time of year where I would rather a manager go with his gut feel than have somebody up in the booth in his ear about, hey, the matchup between, this guy and this guy is this during the season. Yeah. I mean, if a guy's hot and a guy's feeling it and a guy is stars rising, do we really care that he only hit 240 against this reliever who's coming in?
Yeah.
Like the micro analytic stuff, it's important. You have to know it. as a manager.
Mm-hmm.
You want to hear it, but you don't want it to be so weighted to where you're making decisions based on matchups during a 162 game season when it's the playoffs.
Right. Yeah, we talked about it. It must have been a month or two ago. Just about who you're going to pick when it comes to the game on the line. You're going to go with the big slugger, or you're going to go with the guy he can get on base. He hits 350 off the bench, but he's probably only going to get you like a single or base hit.
You need those guys that do it. The name of the game is advancing to score, right, and outscoring the other opponent. So you need, if you don't get the 3-run homer, you better find other ways to score in these tight games where they're pitched really tightly and played defensively very well. So, I think the Dodgers and the Yankees have enough of everything where they, like, even the Yankees, Volpe is not having a great series, but he'll walk occasionally. Not a great walker, but he'll get on base. He'll play good defense. He'll steal a base. He'll make a highlight reel play, and then he'll surprise you and get a clutch hit. So you got guys who will do that. Glaber's playing well. He's got 2 hits tonight.
Yeah.
And even though Wells has not performed well so far in the postseason, he had a pretty nice regular season, and he's been pretty reliable behind the plate. So I think the microanalytics are overdone. I think that you're going to see that in the World Series. You're going to see, Boone took out Cole tonight in the 6th inning. He was bases loaded. He walked the base. It was the 5th.
Yeah.
So he walked the guy for the bases loaded, and he took him out. And then Holmes came in, and gave up the ground ball to get an RBI, and then he got out of it. Yeah. So I guess it was an okay move. But I mean, you have to really be careful of like looking at these things and saying, well, okay, your best pitcher, the best pitcher in baseball, or top 3 pitcher in baseball, Cole, you're taking him out, and he's only at 89 pitches.
I'll go the other way. Like, just play the other side of the card. Like, it's more of a gut feel. And I'll do both sides. Like, do you leave in Cole with bases loaded? I mean, I think he only had like maybe 1 out, but
they only had 1 out.
Sometimes he can thrive in those big situations where he feels like, like one big hit.
It was like you said, it was a 5th inning. I would have left him in because, first of all, if he gives up a single or a double, I mean, you're still in the game. You're either tied, down by 1. I would trust him and let him know that, hey, this is your game. This is your game. Yeah. And that, to me, that builds confidence. You're going to need that later on, but I get what you're saying.
But just taking out Bibby though, so early in the game, I think that's
he only lasted 1.1.
That's a very analytical way of looking at it. If the Guardians are going in a direction to save his arm, because they know they need him down the line.
Well, he gave up 5 hits in 1.1 innings, so I think they looked at him and said, because he was doing well for them in the playoffs.
But that was going back to like the analytics in the season. He had a 3.4 ERA in the season.
Yeah.
Why not let him try to work it out? I mean, like 2 runs at that point?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
And you look back at the what was it? The game that the Padres were bounced. Was that game 4 or 5? I'm trying to remember. It was his first outing against the Dodgers, and he got lit up. But they left him in there for some reason. I don't know if the Padres.
Yeah.
If you remember the game before that, he had 12 strikeouts.
Right.
Went 7 innings.
Yeah, I see your point. I mean, if a guy has proven that he can do it,
and Bibby felt like he was a very reliable starter this year.
Right. So, yeah, for sure. So, World Series.
Yeah.
I'm going Yankees. I'm going Dodgers. I'd love to see a Subway. Just a quick thing and we could talk about the Subway World Series if it happens. It's really it's something that's magical for New York.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder how much the rest of the country is going to want to see a Subway World Series. We're selfish. We want to see it.
Yeah.
But does the rest of the country really care about 2 New York teams? New York is not, well thought of. So I'm just wondering. I like things what's good for baseball. I want the Mets to be in it over the Dodgers, but if the Dodgers were in it, listen, even if the Guardians were in it and they were against either the Mets or the Dodgers, I'd watch it because I like the Mets and then Ohtani and Mookie and the others. So I would watch that. I would any combination I would watch.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I would be excited about.
I think any combination would be really fun to watch. And I mean, yeah, like especially for the AL side of it, at least we could go maybe against the NL side.
So give me your
I
final
mean,
thoughts on the intensity of the World Series and why this is the greatest game on earth. When you get to the World Series, just talk about you've been in situations where every pitch matters. Tell me your thoughts
playoffs,
on
yeah.
the playoffs and the World Series.
Well, I think that you're going to see the best brand of baseball as you're seeing. The Yankees got a lot to prove. The Mets definitely have a lot to prove as an organization. The Dodgers definitely. I think the stigma behind them was, and I know you've heard it. We've heard it talked a lot about. Although the 2020 season was shortened, that their World Series doesn't count. I think it counts. I think shortening the season maybe almost just as harder. Because I remember hearing the guys talk about it, not having fans, being a different atmosphere, and that affects you as a ball player.
Sure.
I mean, you remember Hugh at Trustville?
Yep.
How much I got dogged. I was 0 for 4. I think
I
I
actually,
struck out every. I was at my first golden sombrero, and
I actually
that
walked
stuff.
around the outfield
The
to the left
students,
field
yeah,
to the student section. Not that I was going to do anything, but I was so mad at them for doing that. But
yeah.
you handled it. I mean, I know you
I mean,
had a
that's
bad
not.
game, but you
Yeah,
certainly didn't show anything outwardly.
no,
But yeah,
but
it is that you get like, there's going to be some heroes and there's going to be some bums. That's the way it works in the World Series. You're either a hero or a bum.
and then you get touted as that later. I don't. I get it, but you're only seeing the smallest sample size of these players play,
Right.
um, and where they're at.
Right.
Like if they're hot, they're hot, and usually, like I said, it could be a dark horse. Like I think we'll still see a couple guys that be like, "Wow, where
Yeah.
did he come from?"
Where did he come from?
Yeah,
World Series time. It's the best. It's the best in baseball.
yeah,
It's what we're looking forward to. You got four great teams.
yeah.
After this episode, we'll probably do an end of the year. After the World Series, we'll do an end of the year
Yeah.
wrap up of the season.
Yeah.
And we'll get your buddy Briggs on, talk about where the Detroit Tigers came from.
Oh
So
yeah.
Briggs, be ready. We want to
know
a
great run.
who
Yeah.
these
I'm
teams
excited
are for next year. So World Series time, then we'll wrap up the season and talk about just some of the exciting parts of the season. But let's get to the World Series first.
Yeah. So this will conclude episode 14. This was Road to the World Series. Really appreciate all your support. It means the world to us. We see it, and love you guys. And hit the like button, share it, subscribe. We'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.